All right, so this is a medium hall room. By the way, for all the following examples, they were recorded with the same guitar and amp. The guitar was a Fender Telecaster, and the amp was a Fender Twin Reverb amp. They were all mic'd with the same SM57, placed directly on axis to the center of the speaker cone and 6 inches from the grill. So the first recording was done in a medium hall size room, which was approximately 18 by 12 by 5 meters. It says it was wooden floor and a concert hall. Let's take a listen to the medium hall. All right, now let's listen to a small room center. So this is the amp. Once again, the mic is still only 6 inches from the grill and on the center of the speaker cone. Same amp, same guitar, same 57. Now in a small room, it said the guitar cab is set up in the center of a small studio live room, measuring approximately 5 by or 4.7 by 4.2 meters, with a ceiling sloping from about 2.2 meters to 4.8 meter high. The next example is a small room center raised. So the guitar cab is in the center of the same live room that we just heard, but now it's raised a foot in height on a heavy-duty podium. And then the final one we'll hear is in a small room corner. So the guitar cab in the corner of the same live room. So let's cycle through all of them real quick. Here's the medium hall. Small room center. Small room center on the raised podium. In the small room corner. I'll cycle through them one more time. I think it's interesting that you definitely hear in the medium hall, you get sort of some of the reflections of the room. You get a little bit more brightness. But as we get to the smaller room and then in the center on a raised podium, all the way then to moving it to the corner, it gets sort of closer and closer. I feel like though the small room corner, there's just like a lot of low end buildup that's happening that we're capturing with the 57 that we're not capturing in the hall. The thing about the hall is on the really high notes on the strum, I'm hearing them I'm hearing those notes reflect off the walls and come back to the mic, where I'm not hearing that in the small corner. So it's almost like you're getting like closer and closer, and then you're getting kind of more sense of the low end. But maybe you heard it differently, but that was kind of my takeaway from it. Next, we'll look at the microphone type itself. So every model of mic and every preamp, for that matter, that you pair with a mic is going to sound different. So here are some examples of a Shure SM57, Sennheiser MD421. Let's see, we can actually see them in the pictures here. It looks like the 57's down at the bottom here. The 57's here down at the bottom. The Sennheiser 421, that's this larger black mic that's on the top here. Let's see, there's the AKG 414. You can see that off to the side here is the 414. Let's see, the Shure 137. I believe that's this long cylindrical mic down here that you can see. And then the SE Electronics, that's the ribbon mic. So that would be close to the Royer 121 here, sitting off to the side. So I'm just going to go through them real quick. I'll just do Shure 421, 131, and the Royer R1, or yeah, it would be very close to the Royer mic. This is an SE Electronics, but it's a ribbon mic. So here's the SM57. Yeah, I noticed right off the bat. By the way, these were all set up on axis as close as possible to each other, positioned at the center of the speaker cone at a distance of around 6 inches from the grill. So kind of what you're seeing here in the picture. So they got them as close as they could. Yeah, one of the things I noticed, I didn't notice a big difference between the 57 and the 421 or even the KSM 137. The biggest difference I heard is when that ribbon came on, you still got some of the punch and some of the bite, but there was a lot of low end, like it felt really warm. So that's really interesting that 121 probably, or it's the SE Electronics R1, but I'm comparing it to our Royer 121. And yeah, that's going to give it quite a bit of low end. Because all mics were recorded at the same time, you can try mixing and matching them by simply lining up the audio files without serious phase cancellation effects. So the cool thing is you could use two microphones as close together as possible, and there's pretty simple plugins. You could do it manually by lining up the two waveforms so there's no time difference between them. You could just like drag them in your DAW, or there are some more sophisticated plugins that are fairly cheap that will just align all your guitar mics. So some of the combinations they talked about using was the 57 and the 421, and then there's a 57 and the 414. So here's some examples of that. Let's listen. Here's the 57 and the 421. Don't notice a big difference. How about the 57 and the 414? I don't notice a huge difference between the two, but I guess it's saying here at the start only the 57 can be heard. The middle of the example, both mics are at equal level. Then the SM57 fades out. So let's make sure we're actually listening to this here. So yeah, let's do the example where it's going to start with the 57, then both, then just the 421. Let's see if we can hear that transition. I was not listening for that. Here's the 57, then both, then 421. Yeah, I'm not hearing those transitions that well, but they're saying it's the same for the SM57 and 414 as well. Some other mics, there's same guitar cab. You can start mixing bright and dark mics. So actually, Steve Albany had the dark bright mic approach. So using a D112, which is the kick drum mic that we've talked about, and a C418, which is just a clip-on snare mic. So something else that would be really bright or have a high H factor paired with a much duller or darker mic. So in this example, both are on axis at the center of the speaker cone, a distance of around 6 inches from the grill. So let's first listen to the D112. So that's going to be our dark mic. Let's listen to our bright mic, which is the C418. I don't know, with the C418, you can see a picture of here. It's like a clip-on snare mic. I feel like I'm not getting much high and much low. And with the kick mic, I feel like I'm getting some highs, but it's pretty dark. So here's the D112 again. Here's the C418. And here they are together. Great. So yeah, you could compare them, use them together. One of the things that it doesn't do is if we solo both of them, here's both the D112 and C418. One thing we could do is pan them. So we could pan one left and one right. I'll do them extreme first. That's quite a full sound. You do have to be careful though when you start panning them, then it can also bring out some of the phase difference or time differences between the two mics. Another thing to look at is cone placement. This to me is the most obvious difference when trying to capture the sound of an amp or a speaker. Definitely for me, the sort of center versus the edge versus in between has a very dramatic effect. Let's listen to, once again, this is simultaneously 357s. They're directly on the speaker grill. It doesn't say how far they are away, but it looks like from the picture here that they're just right up on that amp. So let's listen to the center of the cone. So that center of the cone, that would be this right one over here. That's just right in the center. We're now going to listen to the edge. So here's the center one more time. Yeah, that edge was a lot different. Here's the center, and then I'll go to the edge. Yeah, so on that edge, you're just not really getting a lot of that sort of intensity or brightness. But that could be good if you're trying to do like a backup part or sort of a non-lead part as you're stacking guitars. What about a mixture of both? There's a third mic here that they put halfway in between the edge and the center. I don't know. I kind of like that one, but at the same time, it just feels like it's the worst of both worlds to me. Like you're not quite getting all the bite of the center, and it's not as dull as the edge, but it's kind of in between. Once again, one thing I'd be super interested in is using both the center and the edge simultaneously, and hearing how they pair together, and then maybe even panning them. So a cool thing you could do is like, especially if they do like an overdub part, you could have like the brighter center to the left on one take and the edge on the right, and then flip flop that on the other second take. So then you could have kind of like a brighter one on the left, and then the overdub or the like second part could be on the right, could be brighter on the right and duller on the left. This will give you a nice kind of like fuller, bigger sound. And sometimes you could do this all in one take or just with two takes and almost get like sort of four stacks out of just two takes. Cone angle is a little less obvious, but it does make a difference depending on what angle you're at. So in the examples that we're going to hear there's actually four examples here. There's one just on axis, meaning it's straight towards the center of the speaker cone. Another one is at 22 degrees, 45 degrees, and then there's the Andy Johns technique, which is one on axis, so straight ahead, and another one at 45 degrees. For this example, we once again are using 57s placed as close as possible together. They're on the center of the speaker cone, so we will get that brighter center speaker cone sound, and they're directly on the speaker grills. So we're not capturing any room ambiance here. This is just like right in the amp. Here's 0 degrees or on axis. 22. 45. And here's on axis and 45. That Andy Johns is really nice. Let's listen to it one more time. Here's one on axis paired with one at 45. Yeah, the nice part about that is technically we're getting the sound of two guitars stacked. Even in this mono way, we're getting them stacked because we're getting that on-axis mic as well as the one at 45 degrees. So we're getting one that is really bright, and then the 45-degree one is like a little bit duller. So if you think about it, especially if you paired this with a multi-speaker amp, you could actually get one recording that actually had sort of four stacks. So you could do one take on the guitar and get four stacks and really kind of make this really big guitar sound. Speaking of multiple speakers, we'll talk about that speaker differences in a second, because there are some amps that actually have different, like the left speaker sounds a little bit different than the right, sometimes due to malfunction, but also sometimes just based on the design of the amp. Before we talk about that, though, let's just talk about distance. I think this is the most obvious thing that probably people try. It's funny, a lot of times people are just like getting that mic all up on the amp. But in this example, we're going to hear three 57s again. They're all in axis, and they're all at the center of the speaker cone, but they're all at different distances. So we have the first one right up on the grill. As you can see here, we have one at 12 inches and then one at 3 feet away. So this will be really obvious. You're going to hear basically amp, some of the room, and then quite a considerable amount of the room. So I'm just going to cycle through them. Here's the grill. Yeah, so I'll cycle through them one more time, but you can hear, like, with right up on the grill, you get the amp. At 1 foot, you get a little bit of the room, but mostly the amp. And then at 3 feet, you're really getting like sort of a 50-50 mix of the room and the amp. And depending on how good that room sounds or what that room sounds like, what frequencies are building up in that room, what type of treatment there is, it could have a very intense sort of effect on the final recording, or the final sort of illusion or sound that you're going to create. Let's cycle through them one more time. Here's grill. Yeah, so at 3 feet, you're getting quite a bit of the room. I actually don't think the room sound is that flattering. But in a studio, or maybe even like in a hallway, or you're going to put it in a really reverberant space, you could really create some really interesting effects here by only having the mic about 3 feet away from the amp. Next, we talked about, I mentioned earlier, the difference between different speakers on an amp. We're using the Fender Twin Reverb amp here with two speakers. We have two 57s directly over the center of the different cones. They're on axis and they're right up against the grill. So let's see if we can hear a difference between them. So once again, I'm not hearing a huge dramatic effect, but when we do this, the third one, this Steve Churchyard example, he's basically summing the two, both the left 57 and the right 57. The cool thing about this is you could start playing with like having like the left one on the center of the cone at a certain angle, and you could mess with the one on the right being like sort of on the edge, and then also at a different angle. So you could really, just with one take here, get a very specific or very different sound. And you could kind of subtly move those as you do different takes and do different stacks of the same guitar part. Once again, I think this just has the advantage of using multiple mics on one amp. So in one take, you're already getting this much bigger, fuller, layered sound for the guitar. Ambience, or ambience, however you want to pronounce it. Three different examples here. It's the same guitar with three mics simultaneously. So they're Shure 57s, the close mic on axis to the center of the speaker cone and up against the grill. Stereo pair of AKG 3000s a few meters away. And then the third example is the 57 plus the pair. So you can kind of see here in the drawing, you have one right up on the grill here, and then you also have a stereo mic a little bit further away. It says about 3 meters. And notice it's also a little bit higher as well. Here's the 57 close. All right, we've heard that a bunch. A close 57 on axis at the center of the speaker cone right up on the grill. Let's listen to it one more time. Great, here's the stereo mic now. Get quite a bit of the room, a lot of ambience here. Let's hear the two together, 57 and the C3000. So you heard that transition from just 57 to a mix of the 57 and the C3000 or the stereo mic, and then just the stereo mic at the end. I loved it. Somewhere in the middle there was just a really nice sense of like closeness, and then also a really nice sense of the room. I think in a mix that would just like create this really nice, like sort of natural reverb. I might even be tempted then to like run a vocal part through that amp and use the same stereo mic to kind of create a non-digital or fake reverb, but use sort of like a real room reverb, a la, Steve Albini. All right, let's see here. The last pairing here is just for phase. So this is actually, let's see, it's matched the phase of different close mics. So using that thinner KSM 137 here, this lighter kind of beige mic here, or tan mic at the bottom. Let's see, so around 6 inches away from the grill, and with a 57 an inch further away, then move it while recording through a distance of around 2 inches, ending up with an inch closer to the grill than the KSM 137. So this demonstrates the tonal changes created between the phase cancellation of the two mics. So basically what's happening is this top mic here is going to swivel and move further away and closer. And so we're going to actually hear it transition and listen to sort of like all the different worlds of color here that you're going to get. Yeah, one of the things I heard, I almost like heard it kind of come into focus and out of focus. So it was kind of muddier when it started. And as the difference or the relationship between the distance between the two mics in relationship to the speaker changed, you sort of heard it sort of come into focus and out. And I'm equating focus to sort of that tactile index or sort of the brightness, and even just straight up, higher frequencies kind of locking in and corresponding when the phase is correct.